I think I just say about why Olga. I invited Olga because I think that she is perfect commentator because she's curious and critical, and she hasn't known me more than 3 years, so she doesn't know the history. So we decided that now, Maxime, you can play the video, and after that Olga can comment, and we discuss for a while, and I think in any moment others can join. Okay. So in this performance we cook and eat, and you can see on the walls papers. They will count precisely the days we spend. So there is the what we do, what we feel, and what's the motive for about half a year. And in this exhibition, so there is the kind of the totality of the video diary made as a space, and the other way, so it's mainly the home as a stage, and the other installation there are more like epistemological, that they are certain clips and then they are discussed in these videos.
So these events, they're simultaneous now. They're not the past. And that's what's so radical about the new method of putting three together, is that everything happens simultaneously now. Time is not sequential.
I'm always really super impressed by the feeling of intimacy that you're conveying with these images. And also maybe because I'm in the phase of my life where I have just like Jen also, we have super small kids, so I have the feeling I'm seeing my future and then the future of my future. It's a bit uncanny. But I would like others to comment and ask questions. And Olga is there.
So Olga would be first, yeah.
Yeah, that would be the time of Olga.
I was thinking today about what I have forgotten, apparently, and I was also thinking the first time someone handed me a diary, or what they called a diary, and a concept that I didn't understand. It looked like a notebook and it had a lock on it, and they told me that I could write there what I wanted to keep private and what I wanted to remember. And today I was thinking that, to me, why a diary? Why, and what does it do? When I was first introduced to that concept, and I was like 8 years old, with this gift, I think it was both about the production of secrets. So I would write something that nobody else could have access to. And the production of truth, somehow. I would write things that I know about, or try to put my thoughts on paper in order to figure them out and to know them, or to know myself somehow. And I was thinking, who else keeps diaries apart from Pekka? Captains keep diaries, or the captain's log. And why do they keep the log? do they keep it in case something bad happens, so that they know what went wrong? I don't know. That's so. If I could ask one question to Pekka, would be why the diary, and how this why have perhaps shifted over the years, or if it has shifted over the years. And then I went back to an essay I had written about autobiography like years ago. And I found one phrase from Foucault saying, "We are all confessing animals." And what, how, I was thinking about confession again, and this work in particular, how it finds its way in and out. I love how it's not present all the time, but I have found moments there, confessional moments. And yeah, then I was thinking about the medium as well in connection to truthfulness, the camera, and this archival material. So, and the last thing, and then I will give the floor to Pekka, was I remembered I did one course with Pekka's partner, Lea Kantonen, and they were discussing, or we were discussing, how what elders bring into societies, or what the stories bring into societies, and what part do they have in the formation of knowledge and learning.
And this video diary, it started with building the house, and at that moment we couldn't do any art, and so we decided that okay, let's put at least the camera on and we record something, and it became kind of routine. And yes, I remember that yes, it did have this kind of confessional function in the beginning a lot, and of course it returns sometimes, but later I think, especially from the year 2000 when I took the camera on my hand, it became such a fun, and it was kind of if you were very kind of down in your energy and you take the camera, you actually, in one seminar I was saying to them that I feel more alive when I have the camera with me, and that was kind of shocking for people of visual art, because usually they think that camera is the one who kind of isolate you from the life.
I wanted to know if this project also included the digitalization of this old footage, and if you took this project as a setup to make you digitize, because it's one thing to film, but it's also another thing to archive, to like make meaning from the mess and to salvage the things from the pile.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to know how you connected this, because you are still producing footage, but now you also have this platform for archiving and sharing in the same time, which is YouTube. So I wanted to know about this process. Or did you already digitize most things? Was it just a pile when you started the project?
Well, I did start a couple of years before, but I quite late, because and then I really get scared that they will be destroyed, and some of them are destroyed, it's true. So but this it's kind of boring if you only archive something and make notes and so on, and you know that it never will end. So this project kind of became kind of relief to that it has also an actual meaning of the archiving. but at the same time it took so much time now to, you know, subtitles and everything, that actually my archiving, it doesn't go very well at the moment.
How much time does it cost you? Like, what kind of involvement does it have in your daily life?
Well, if I don't, I mean, it never ends, I mean, but of course I must think about that. I have other things to do. I try to enjoy it, let's say.
Just on that point of archiving, Pekka, I did a little project around archiving, and one of the things that we learned was that it's as much about what we are able to destroy as what we're able to keep. And that perhaps it's much easier if it's not the people who make the material that do that. And so it's a really interesting tension, I suppose, in this process. Maybe there's the natural degradation of materials, or just the accumulation of stuff, but they, you know, a deliberate archiving politics, right? Like deciding what's valuable, what's not, what to show and what's not, and how you put those things together. It's just something that came to mind. But I have a question actually, which I would really love your response. Sometimes I wonder whether it really is your diary or whose diary it is. You know, even more than the multiple perspectives. Like maybe for you it really is yours, but just like an anthropological fieldwork, or absolutely not like an anthropological fieldwork because it's the intimacy, the material of our private lives. Like in similar projects, I'm starting to think like, how can I speak for or you know or show moments which are my life but actually also my family's. So really, is this a portrait, a collaboratively owned, are the decisions made together, or is it actually like family life where your portrait, your diary is yours, and your family, I mean Leia's here today, are in it, but really it's your story. So I'm wondering, whose story is it really, or is it actually like a family collectively owned shared life that we see intimate elements of put together in different ways over different times, and we learn something of the quality of your family's life, so that's really about them? Or is it really your view on them? I'm interested in that, and if you can speak for them, or you're not really doing that.
Well, it started as my project, so I was kind of trying to depict how is to live as a heterosexual white middle-aged becoming father in Western society. That was the point. But when we made the first work, we were told that it's not your work. But it's you and Leia and your children. And then we changed it to that direction, and also we named it in different way. And what I hope it looks like, that it's a social network that I'm living in. And my role is mainly with the camera, but it's not like in this, when my hair was cutting, so the Ukko, the other boy, he wanted to shoot and he took the camera. But that happens not that often, but I'm always happy when it happens. And also it's quite small circle, because I think artists mainly and our friends, they are quite shy to be in front of the camera. And I really decided that I never film anybody who feels uncomfortable. And so it becomes quite close circle actually. And now again, it's mainly because of this working kind of division between me and Leia. So now it's again my project. But it only means, how would I say, that I'm kind of responsible to do the work. But actually the result, it's rather interesting if it tells about kind of, let's say, extended family.
Yeah, because there's so much about a diary, and you know, you talk about the limitations of not being able to write, but actually you know, the politics of the camera, right, and the way that has also evolved, as you say, from being a thing that sits, you know, from a fixed perspective to one that can move with you, to all of the things you do now, the ways it moves between hands. It opens up something different from your interior or your expression of your interior experience to one that's about your family. But then, of course, there's also, you talk about the work, and in relation to the archive, I won't go on, but it's just that clearly selection and editing and how you show it, whether that's in a gallery or at home or online, all of this work says something.
Right. I mean, I just wanted to come back to this idea that Olga also mentioned from Lea Kantonen about the knowledge of the elders, because there is also this trend in anthropology of speaking about anthropology as education, and I really have difficulties to see the anthropologist in this position of patronizing and knowing better. But in a certain way, what you are doing is doing the work of recapitulating and sublimating and absorbing again what is your life experience at all. And this is actually, during this movie I showed today, Lea speaks about the learning concept of the pragmatist, and it has to do with like this experience is usually shown as something very, understood as something very spontaneous, but it has to be reworked and reworked again until you achieve an integration of the experience.
Oppimiskäsitys, näin. Et äskenhän me puhuttiin sitä, että tämmöinen Foucaultlainen ajatus valtarakenteiden horjuttamisesta ja sitten toisaalta pragmatistinen käsitys oppimisesta ei ole ristiriidassa.
So I have the feeling that you're taking a very serious endeavor to, make sense of what happened there. And what is interesting and what you transmit is not only the insight, but it's also the way how to do it, and our responsibility to use whatever we do as anthropologists as also a way to understand and reflect about what we have been doing, and to share this as a possibility, as an education. What are we doing when we teach anthropology? Maybe we are also teaching something like this, how to make sense of our own existence, of our own experience, without patronizing, because it's all about only the process. Taking notes, doing the dirty work of remembering, not analyzing maybe, but reprocessing and understanding in the sense of Arendt, just not like thinking in line and making a decision in the end, but this kind of work of the comprehension. Yeah, that was a lot of comment. But yeah, my question comes back to maybe to Lea Kantonen. Is this what you understand with the knowledge of elders and the transmission and the education, the role that you have as older artists?
I don't really remember the class that Olga mentioned, but I guess it's also thinking between two different societies, because it has not yet these years now during this last year that we have not been in Mexico yet, but we also work and do art with Virarica people in Mexico, and they always speak about the elders and the necessity of consult the elders, but they include non-humans also in this concept of elders. So there are also places and animals that need consultations. And I think during that lecture, I think I was in my mind, or maybe not then, but today, like traveling between these worlds, different worlds and different ideas to think of eldership. And learning between generations, like two-sided, like knowledge also coming not only from elders to younger, but also from the younger to the old. In this phase of the life, it's very important also, like the learning from the youth. Otherwise, the life becomes very boring.
Thank you for that, Leah. I just I understand, I think, Maxime's question about like this play between art and anthropology and learning with and from other beings in relation to your work, this work, because being able to say that doing anthropology or doing this kind of fieldwork might not be about going away, coming home and saying, here I have an authoritative account of how other people's are. And this is the truth and this is the knowledge. But rather, as I think you were suggesting, Maxime, that this is a way of being. This is a way of being open to the world. This is a way of reflecting on what it means to be alive. And this is how I've done it. And these are the techniques and tools and devices that I've learned to share some of my experience to connect with people. And if anthropology is doing that rather than collecting, owning, stealing, containing, defining others, but rather it's like, how are we in the world? So I think that's where you're coming from. And actually, before we're coming towards the end, and I'm reminded now of Olga's question to us all, which was, I have forgotten ... And I just wanted to say that my impression of the film and thinking about learning and being with others, what I wanted what was inspired in me was there's something about the spaciousness of life, of childhood in particular, like the dynamics, the lightness of a family dynamic. That's what your work reminded me of. And I think there's something so important about time making in the folds and unfolds of everyday, what your art curator called the aesthetics of everyday life. There's a quality of being there that's in your work that reminded me of that I'd forgotten. So thank you. That's my my thing, Olga. Thank you for that exercise.